Hey guys, my guest today specializes in enhancing and optimizing dating profiles to ensure their clients are making their first impression their best impression. She began by helping her friends bring out their true best self on their dating profiles. The results and feedback were overwhelming. Now her friends are getting matched with people who have actual substance, and their profiles are a legitimate representation of who they actually are in real life. Eventually, more and more people asked for her assistance, and after being urged to start her own business, NXTConnection was born. From cultivated bios to setting their clients up with a professional photo shoot for their profile pic, NXTConnection provides the support and advice you need to navigate the dangerous waters of dating. Welcome to the show, the founder and CEO of NXTConnection, coming to us all the way from Los Angeles, Dorinda Barker.
Hi, guys. How are you? Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm so excited for this one because I got my notepad ready because I feel like online dating, I mentioned it in the bio there, dangerous waters. I think there's no better way to define it as some people feel like they're sinking and other people are doing okay, but it's definitely some turmoil there as far as the waters go, right? Because there's a lot going on. And I have some questions. I'd like today's show to actually be like a workshop. So Thank you so much, first of all, for being here. I've been planning this and excited about this for a long time. What I want to do first, before we dive into some questions, people tuning in right now are wondering where they can find you. So I did some research on that and made sure everyone can easily find you. You're all over social media. You're kicking butt on Instagram and Twitter. It's at NXTConnection. Facebook is at NXTConnection USA. And the website is very simple to remember, nxtconnection.com. Dorinda Barker, welcome to the show.
Excellent. Oh, I'm so excited. And you did it right. It was awesome.
So off to a good start here. I'm going to say this. So online dating can be extremely frustrating. We talked about that already. Your friends were experiencing that, and then they started to lean into you for help. Again, I want this to be more of a workshop so people that are tuning in can come away with some real applicable suggestions that you have for them that you can actually help them out. Help me out too, because I'm interested in this for myself. And I got my notepad out because I'll tell you what, swiping right, swiping left, I don't even know which one's the right one anymore. Facebook has dating now, match.com. I don't even know if that's still a relevant hip thing to be on. So, hey, I'll tell you what, if one person's ready for you for some information, it's sitting in front of you here on this call.
Excellent. I'm here for you. I'm here for everybody that is listening because I want to help everybody.
I love it. So what do you think the first step is to gain self-confidence in online dating? How does it
the first thing is to be okay with it. I know a lot of people who go through this whole thing of like, oh, I don't want to do this, or I'm too good to do this. You got to get rid of that. That needs to be done. That needs to be over. There's over 20 million people who are on online dating. And during the pandemic alone, online dating went up by 26%. So my numbers might be even lower than what it actually really is. People are busy. I mean, before the pandemic, people were way too busy and were particularly caring about meeting new people out in the world, or going to the bars, or going out to lunches, or the grocery store, or anything like that. So this is it's not a new platform. It's been around for a while, but within the last 10 years has soared into being one of the number one places to meet people.
I'm glad you actually mentioned that because I don't have it written down, but as we were starting this call, I was thinking about it. I was wondering, I wanted to ask you that question, if the pandemic is a reason for more people to be tuned in on, obviously, not being able to connect in person. So what other way to start than online? But so there's multiple platforms that can happen, right? So my question is kind of the strategy behind it to find the one, right? Quote unquote, the one. So is that a numbers game, like swiping to get the match, or do you feel like only swipe or heart if you're on the Facebook app, right? Your absolute favorites. And then, because personally I'm a quality over quantity kind of a person, but would you say that that's hurting my chances? Is that hurting my
No.
chances to find the one, you know?
No,
Okay.
what I think hurts a lot of people's chances is they don't read the bios.
Okay.
So I think it should be quality over quantity, to be
Mhm.
honest with you. Um,
Yeah, if you're just
so
swiping because you're like, man, if I do this 200 times, maybe 3 people might actually be a match, right?
exactly. And you didn't actually look at their picture. You actually, and then so then even when you match with them, you might see them and go, oh, this is not what I wanted. And then you
Mhm.
don't reach out to that person, or person, if you're like on Bumble where the woman has to reach out, you reach out to that person and that person doesn't reach back out to you because you were just a quantity swipe, not a quality swipe.
Mhm.
And when I think about that, you really need to go through everything. Your pictures need to be on point, which we'll get into. Your bio should be on point, and you should know how to, when you look at all of that, I tell people in their bio, it will tell you if they're crazy or not. There's always a word or a sentence that will let you know if they are crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'll see if we can maybe get a one-on-one consultation here after this interview. You could help
Oh,
me
I
out.
totally will help you.
You know what I think is interesting and kind of frustrating from my experience is when a lot of pictures have multiple people in it, and I'm guessing, who am I looking at here? Like every if there's 3 pictures and one of them is like a faraway shot, so you can't really tell what
Yeah.
what they look like, and then there's 2 group shots, and you're like, what am I doing? You know, so
No.
so tell us about that if you want. We can get right into that.
Oh, I
What
love to
what
talk
are what
about
are some
that.
of those key elements, in like from a profile picture standpoint? What are we looking for?
First of all, it should be you. It should definitely be you and just you. I don't like group pictures, and I don't like them for a lot of reasons. First of all, what you just said, you don't know who it is.
Mhm,
That's number one. And then number two, it's also because, like, it happened to me in the first beginning stages because I do use the apps, just to let you know, and I did
mhm.
meet someone, and we can get into that from the apps. But it, I once I had a picture of my best friend and I, thinking that that was a good idea. Now, this is years ago. And the guy got in touch with me to ask me about my friends.
Oh my god,
So, no, don't
that's
do it.
horrible.
You don't,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you want to put a picture of you, I did one
What
where it
about
was like a
kids? Do you
guy.
think kids like I post pictures of me and my daughter on my regular social channels, but it's not really like where I'm looking to pick up a date on that. But I also feel like from a privacy thing, I got to be careful there. So would you say that applies? Obviously, I mean, these are strangers that are looking for a date, so
Oh,
probably not a good idea.
oh, it's a horrible idea. That is my number
Yeah.
one, like, pet peeve. Because, I'm in that age, you have children, you're going to date people with children, and that's great. And you can even put that in your bio that you're a dad and
Mhm.
all of those things. But once again, we live in this weird world now in social media world. I don't need to see your kids in every picture because you're showing me then I'm never going to be even number two.
Wow.
Never, you
That's great
know?
insight. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
and
learn a
then
lot visually, right? I mean, just from that
yeah,
surface level, what's the word I'm looking for? Like perception, right? Is reality, that kind of thing.
yeah, perception is reality. And then the other thing is you don't know if they're looking at you or your child, like they're interested in you or your child. So it's not a safe place because unfortunately, there's some creeps, I'll say it in the nicest way possible,
No.
out on the internet, and they could be trolling on these sites for your child, not for you. So
Hmm.
your child should never be part of that whole process.
Hmm.
Put it in the bio. They know you're a dad or a mom, but don't put your kids in there. It's not a safe place. I mean, it's a safe place for you, but it's not a safe place in a sense of for your children. Your children shouldn't be the focal part of your dating life anyway. Your children should
Yeah.
technically, until you're ready to bring your kids into it, the only thing people need to know is that you are a parent, and that's it.
Yeah. I think that's great. I appreciate you making that clear too.
Right.
Something that I accidentally passed over here, but I wanted to kind of hit home on what you've seen because you've evaluated how many, probably hundreds, maybe thousands over the
100.
last couple.
Yeah.
profiles to help out your clients, what would you say the biggest mistake is? Maybe something we didn't talk about yet. Something that just happens over and over, and you're like, I can't believe that all these people are doing this.
Sunglasses.
Sunglasses. Okay.
Sunglasses.
Guilty, by the way. Totally
Yeah.
guilty of it. Okay.
I know it sounds weird, but you can't see the person's eyes. And I don't like going through a profile where all 6 pictures are of you with sunglasses on. You can everything about you could be hot, but you take the glasses off, you could be cross-eyed. Who knows?
Yeah, like
I
what are you hiding then, right?
exactly. And what
I'm
about
just
the
gonna
person who
say
likes
quick.
cross-eyed people? They would never know that. People
Yeah,
like a thing.
yeah. So would you say maybe if there's 6 pictures, one with glasses, sunglasses is cool?
That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine. Don't make it your first picture though.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I get it if you climb Mount Kilimanjaro, people like to do that, and
Mhm.
you wanna put that up there, that's cool, but don't make it your first pick. Make it your
Okay.
middle pick, don't make it your last pick, but yes, definitely, I would not all 6,
Yeah.
and you
What
would be surprised.
What are your thoughts on the first picture being almost too produced? Like, I know that I did a photo shoot, and I actually have one
Mhm.
coming up Monday for a rebrand for myself. Um, and do you think that that would be good or bad to use like a professional headshot, or does it look like it's like too done? You know what I mean? Like over
It
prepared kind of thing?
So here's the thing about that. I wouldn't have that as your first picture, maybe as your second picture,
Mhm.
but you're a handsome guy. So I definitely know that you can take a good picture of yourself, or even when you're getting those pics done, and we'll talk about that offline if you want. I
Sure.
could tell you a couple of pics you probably should get, but do a fun pic of you, you know, do a fun pic, do a smile, or even if it's like a smize, what they say, a
Mm.
smize, but it's something in that sense, but not so produced. But if you're doing a photo shoot and you got a great pic, but it's from the photo shoot, then go ahead and use it.
Mhm.
But as long as it doesn't look like you're a catalog model for JC Penney's.
Yeah. Wearing the sweater mom got you for Christmas, right? Okay.
Exactly.
So I want to get into
Depending on
this.
the holiday, though, that might actually work as your first pick.
There you go. Ugly holiday sweaters, right? So I feel like there's so many different directions we can go with this. And I mean,
Yeah.
this conversation could be more than the time we have here. So if you can give us, so we talked about a big mistake. Let's flip it. 3 tips for successful online dating. What would you say the top 3? Maybe, and I hate to keep wording it this way, but maybe something we didn't talk about, just so we can get as much into this. So 3 things you'd say, hey, think about these first 3 items when you're creating your profile.
Make sure your pics are at least they look like you.
Hmm.
They have to look like you. I don't want to see your high school pic, you know what I mean? Or to pic of you like from 10 years ago because it was a great day and a great pic and you show up at your house you show up at your date's house and they're like, "Who are you?" Which has actually happened to a couple of my friends
Hmm.
that the person showed up and they're like, "Oh, we're supposed to go on a date." And my one friend was like, "No, no."
Yeah. You go back in the DeLorean and come back from your 1988 high school photo. That'd be
Yes. So make sure the pics look like you. Make sure they're up to date. When I say up to date, things have been a little wonky. Normally I say 6 months to a year, but we're in this weird time. So I will 2 years. I mean, I don't think people really change within two
yeah.
years, you
But if
know?
you did, let's say maybe you're younger, you're 21, and when you're 18 or 19, you did maybe look different. Then that would be just be
Yeah.
mindful that the person that you're putting out there looks pretty similar to who you're looking at in the mirror. So right?
Exactly.
Cool.
Oh, your bio. Make sure in your bio. We're going to keep on my second one. And my second tip is make sure you have a full body in there.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
good.
and I'm not talking in a bathing suit or the gym pic, but a full body that shows that what you look like. People like what they like,
Hmm.
right? So just show them. So there's like once again, none of that showing up to the door. You look great, and then you photoshopped yourself from a certain way to another certain way, and then you show up at the door and it's not you. Be honest about who you are.
Hmm.
People are more open anyway these days to dating every type of person.
Hmm.
And So just be you. And then the third, okay, I have a bunch, but yeah, my top three bios. Make sure your bio that people can ask you questions. Be able to
Mhm.
make it fun, but be intentional on what you want. And then I'm
Yeah,
going to add the fourth one is make
sure.
sure in your bio
Mhm.
that you can actually, there's something in there that people want. And when you're answering people, when you've already matched up together,
Mhm.
be prepared to ask questions, be playful, be honest. And those I think are my top four right now.
Okay, so I want to talk.
Excellent.
I love that. Let's peel it back a little bit. So the full body shot, it's a real pic. So when you walk up to the front door or whatever, when you're meeting, there's no wow factor in a bad way where all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're off because think about it this way, and this is just me thinking through and reiterating your thought to the audience is, as much as you want to, you kind of use it as a hook. It's like you're fishing, and if you put this bait on there, and then now you have someone you want to be with, and all of a sudden they're looking at you, and they don't even see you as the person that they were hoping to see, then the long term play is already you're kind of losing that long term success of the dating deal because you already are showing that you're kind of manipulating the situation. So
Yeah.
obviously it doesn't you don't want to get the date to have there never be a second date because that's just wasting two people's time, right?
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
the bio with insightful, meaningful things about you, so then they can ask you some questions and you can talk about it. Some icebreaker material, I think, is another great piece of information to add. And then let's talk about that first conversation because that's where I've kind of struggled. I've kind of
Mhm.
used like a line where I just say like, "Hey, cheers to the connection" or something like to
Yeah.
break the ice, and I do the little cheers emoji. But I don't know if that's working, not working, what? Because I just, I don't really have the patience, I guess, personally. I'm old school. I'm an old soul. I like to just meet people and have a cup of coffee and have a conversation like
Yeah.
this and get to know what they're really about. And then, I think naturally you start to fall for someone when you like those common things, and then some differences that are quirky that you love about each other. So I have a hard time with this like 5 second you get to know if you're going to want to even spend a minute with someone. So can you walk us through a really uh, smooth process for that first conversation without being too robotic and also without being too, hey, I just want to get together kind of thing?
Oh yeah. So if you look at so it's the whole thing with the opening conversation. You
Mhm.
should look at the the pictures, and you should look at the bio. And then, because in the pics there could be something that you like. So there was this one character, not character. He's a friend of mine. He is a
Yeah.
character though. Uh,
Yeah. I got you.
and
He's got some personality going on.
yeah, he's definitely got some great personality. Anyway, there was this girl actually this was on Instagram. It wasn't even on the dating sites. And he showed me this girl's profile on Instagram, and every other picture I think had chopsticks. And he was like, I want to talk to this girl. I'm just going to say, hey. I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not what you're going to do. Look at her photos. In the photos, every other picture has her with chopsticks. So ask her a question or a funny question of chopsticks, or
Yeah.
ask her if we ever went on a date, what, Asian restaurant you would like to go to or something. Like,
Yeah.
definitely he did that. And within a minute, she answered back.
Mhm.
And they started dating. They dated for a while.
That's
So
cool.
it's just
It
starting the
showed that he was paying
conversation.
attention and had a relative question that wasn't just him trying to hook up or whatever, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I can tell you this. Yeah. So the guy
Yeah.
that I am dating now,
Mhm.
he said something in Bumble. They give you like different things to say, which are great talking points that about their lives. So one of the questions was, what's your pet peeve? And he's like, my dog's name is Peeve. And I thought that was hysterical. So when we matched up, I said, your dog's name is Peeve? He goes, no. He goes, actually, my dog's name is a pet peeve for me. And I said, why? He goes, well, I inherited the dog, and the dog's name is Peaches. And I was
Um,
like, oh my God. And he's like 6'4", really tall, and
yeah.
very like a big
Sure.
dude. And I was like, oh, I could totally get like a little Shih Tzu, and you're walking with it, like, hey, Peaches, come here, Peaches.
Yeah. This big
But
tough
it's
guy with the dog named Peaches. It's you can't make that stuff up.
with pink ears, so
That's
that's even better.
awesome. Yeah, that's amazing.
But
So
yeah,
fun.
but there was something to talk about, and so that's even why I'm even mentioning it. And there was something in there to ask a question, to say, I'm interested, and I looked over this, and I'm interested in you.
Hmm. Something I want to hit on. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And those little quirky conversations, I think, is what brings the realness out of someone. Like
Yes.
that guy just he was being kind of vulnerable and playful. And I think that's
Yeah.
where genuine conversations can come from. Want to talk about the different apps out there? I know maybe from there's no sponsorships going on here or anything, or you're not tied to one particular brand, but I think it's important because think about social media. Each platform works a little differently. Facebook is a little bit more friends and family. You go on the family vacation, you might have a whole gallery of pictures while you're in Siesta Key. You go to Instagram, it's your highlight reel. LinkedIn is if you're at a networking event and you're showcasing your business. Twitter is kind of like a mix of sports, political, and news, right? Like
Yeah.
one-liners. So everything acts a little bit differently, yet it's all social media. Do you feel that there's different platforms, maybe based on age, category, interest? Walk us through what's out there. And if anyone's tuning in, we got different ages, and not everyone tuning in is an entrepreneur or business person. We've had athletes and authors on the show, and some people are just simply looking for that personal development. So that we got all kinds of people tuning in. How can you help them find the right app for them for dating?
So it depends on where you're at. So if you're ready to if you're just stepping your toe into the water, as I like to say, I think Tinder is a great place for that. Like stepping the
Sure.
toe in to say, like, you want something casual, you're
Mhm.
not looking for anything serious, even though I know Tinder is trying to change their whole outlook on that. It still has that whole.
Can you elaborate on that? Are they trying to be more, maybe professional's not the right word, but like serious relationship material and not just a hookup app?
They're trying, but it still has that black spot on it of just
Yeah.
a hookup site. And so
Okay.
that's that. I'm a huge Bumble fan because I feel that Bumble
I
gives the
haven't
power
even heard of
to
that one. How do you spell that?
Bumble, Bumble.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like
All right.
Bumblebee.
Yeah, yeah.
hmm So that actually puts the power in the woman's hands. So if you two match, she has to reach out to you. So I find that men come more correct on that one, in the sense of they have to, I hate to say it, but be more well behaved, if that means anything. Yeah,
Certainly. Yeah,
Yeah,
certainly.
because the women have the power.
Yeah.
Hinge is great. I have a few friends that I've helped on Hinge. Actually, one of my best friends, I did his Hinge, and he just texted me. He goes, "My Hinge is popping." So
Again, I haven't heard of that one either. So
Hinge is great.
this is great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're gonna talk after the call.
Works for me.
And
Benefit of
then
doing the show, you learn a lot, and then you can apply it to yourself, right?
yeah, and then my other ones that I've liked and that I've used before are the League. I do
Okay.
love the League. That only gives you 3 matches a day. You have to be asked to be in it.
Mhm.
Then there's Coffee Meets Bagel is another one and I think Coffee
Wow.
Meets Bagel, the League, those are all like for professionals. And the going
Wow, I
back to
never
Bumble,
heard of that. That's cool.
yeah. And so the other thing about Bumble, just to let you know, Bumble is just not a site just for matchmaking.
Mhm.
It's actually, you can do Bumble Biz, which I'm a huge fan of. So you can switch over there and you can network with people.
But it's not to it's like your understanding, if we're connecting here, it's to maybe pass some leads or talk about business, maybe
Yeah.
potentially date, or is it like, don't even talk about going on
I
a date?
mean, if the conversation's going there, I guess you
Sure.
could do it that way too, but
Yeah.
it's also for networking, which
Yeah,
is,
that's cool. Is
awesome because
coffee
they're
meets bagel, is that sounds like it's more up my alley, and I don't want this whole thing to be about me, but I want people to learn through maybe my questions as well. That's the
Oh, I
whole.
think it's awesome. Yes, let's make it about you because then people will
Well,
learn.
sure. I'm asking this because I feel I'm probably not alone. Because if one person's
Mhm.
saying something, usually there's some other people that maybe they don't want to raise their hand and ask a question. But I literally, I enjoy having that meaningful conversation to really understand what someone's about, rather than, hey, let's get drinks, maybe hook up, whatever, have it be real shallow, and then try
Yeah.
to go from there. So, but I think that's kind of hurt me because I'm like, yeah, why don't we just grab lunch and a coffee and talk a little bit? And it's like, I think people are looking to be taken out and want the red carpet rolled out, which is cool if that's what they want. But is coffee meets bagel kind of like, hey, we're going to have more of a, like a insightful conversation, something like an intellectual convo is expected, or what is that just a goofy name? What's the deal with that?
It's just, I think it's a goofy name, and it is like the league. They only give you 3 a day, and it is professionals too.
Okay.
And I really am a fan of it. I have clients on there that do really well,
Mhm.
but and we're going to go to what you just said before, but I'll finish up with this. They just really, I just think on Coffee Meets Bagel, Bumble, they just take dating more serious.
Mhm.
If you know, they're looking for somebody. They're not just looking for the hookup. And if they are, that is actually a lesser percentage than there is on like a Tinder or even Facebook dating or anything like that.
So are they actually evaluating things that make people a match? I know on like the Facebook app, I think you can select what you want. You want to see like age, obviously. I think that's a
Mhm.
you're like age, maybe if they're marital, well, not marital status, but like their status with children and all kinds of stuff, right? So you kind of have like these identifiers, and you get lumped in
Yeah.
with your identifiers. So is that what you're talking about? You only get 3 matches a day, but on Bumble, the League, and Coffee Meets Bagel, they're a little bit more they tighten it up, so they're looking for like a genuine
Yeah.
partner,
And
not.
it's on the album, it's on your algorithm.
Yeah,
And yes.
yeah.
So,
Okay,
and they give
cool.
you the 3, and then so you're not like swiping with abandon too, like we were
Uh-huh.
talking before.
Yeah,
So you
so
have
it's
to be
got
a little more
you gotta have.
serious about it.
So they're kind of forcing your hand to be more quality than quantity, like we were talking about earlier in
Yes.
the show. Here's what I
Mhm.
want you to do. I want you to promote again. It's NXT Connection, but it's pronounced Next Connection. I love it. I was on your site. I think you're doing a nice job with everything there. So kudos. You have 4 tiers: tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. Can you elaborate on each of those? And then I want to talk about tier 4 after. So, what
Okay.
do people get with each package? There's 4 different packages, right?
So yes, so there's 4 different packages. First, tier 1 is basically a consult with me, and
Mhm.
then we go through your dating apps, and I will do your bios and help you with your picks. Tier 2 is I have a photographer on board, and I do other states, so I have other photographers in other states. So
Okay.
don't think it's just based here in LA.
Yeah.
And we'll do a photo shoot, and if we need to do some photoshopping, and when I say photoshopping, it's not about making you look 50 pounds thinner than you are,
Mhm.
or it's just brightening things up to
Yeah.
who you
Cleaning
are.
it up a little bit. Sure.
Yeah, cleaning it up. um yeah, so so that's in tier 2. I will also help you with questions
Hmm.
that you can ask people. So I'll give you advice on what you should say. Tier 3 is more me, everything. Plus, on top of that, I will, as I call it Cyranoing. Some people might call it catfishing, but but it's you. It's not me. It's you. But I'm just helping you, and I'm writing things down because you have to know how to have a conversation. And I think that's the other thing that people don't know. So I teach you how to have a conversation. I know sometimes it's hard to type and think, and It was hard for me in the beginning. It's something that you should do. Yeah, so I
Absolutely.
can help you with all of that. And I can help you with first dates, like what are great ideas, or even in your city or town, I'll find a great place. Like, just different conversation pieces
Mhm.
on what, you know, you can do. And it's more of teaching you what to do on first dates and beginning of relationships.
Yeah, I'll say even my business mind and the things that I study and read and practice, right, and roll out into
Yeah,
businesses, having that game plan. It's something that's very, very elementary thought is have a plan before you try to execute. So what you're saying is you can help people just walk through that first date in your head so you can visualize what it would look like. So then when you're actually there, it's similar to the law of attraction. If anyone's interested in that, I highly recommend reading books on the law of attraction or YouTube it. But it's like
true.
visualization too. You're visualizing it, so now the likelihood of those things happening is the vibrations are going. So what you're doing for people is just helping them get on that same level. So when they're there, they're not walking like on ice because they're afraid that they haven't been there before. You're kind of helping them visualize through it, right?
Yes.
So then the
Yes.
success is a lot higher, and then they're going to turn around and say, "Thanks, Dorinda," right?
Oh
And
yeah.
you get a lot of do you get a lot of that, like either calls or texts, or do you do a follow-up just to see, hey, how'd your first date go? Is that part of it?
Oh, I always do a follow-up.
Do you
I
say,
always
hey, I
do
don't
a
need to hear every detail, but can you just tell me if it went well?
So, like, if you do tier one, once again, I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to get a date. You know what
Sure.
I mean? I'm
Mm,
guaranteeing that you're going to get better matches, better swipes, and a better chance at getting the date. Because that's what tier one is all about.
mhm,
So in tier two, that's helping you get there. Tier three is about once the date is fine, is you got the date. So
mhm,
I helped you get the date. It's all happening. And between you and I, all that magic you did, now you have that.
mhm.
I then now help you with what to do to make it past the first date onto a second, third, or maybe a forever date.
Yeah.
That's what I do. And like my tier four, which you were talking about, um, once all of that happens, or if you feel you need more help, I can help you with that. And we can talk about tier four in a minute. Yeah.
Something that I really like the way that it was worded on your website was tier 4, it brings out the 2.0 version of you, meaning a new and improved,
Yes.
right? So I want to talk more about that. What are some characteristics of somebody's 2.0 version?
Well, I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to dating or even dating online, we all feel like we have to be perfect.
Mhm.
Or we've just put a part of ourselves because we've been hurt from dating. Because a lot of people who are on these sites, they've dated before. Let's be honest. I would like to think 90% of these people have dated before. And at some point have probably been heartbroken, all of those things. And we all know when we get our heart broken, we take a piece of that and just we put armor over it and we don't let it show anymore. And I feel like with the 2.0 version, you should still let that show and you should still know that you are good enough. You don't have to be something different. We have a lot of people who were in long term relationships. Like
Mhm.
a lot of people who are on dating apps or starting on dating apps, they were in, I call them my second timers because they were in long term relationships before this even happened, before the whole, dating online, all the craziness. The whole thing is with that, we just bring that out of you. So I have a
Mhm.
stylist on board. Let's be honest. I mean, if you were in a relationship for a long time and you're not living in a total cosmopolitan city, you're probably still stuck fashion wise in when you
Sure.
were the best that you were because you feel like that's the best that you were. So I
Mhm.
have stylists on board, hair, makeup, clothing. I have a relationship counselor on there because some of us do get hurt. And so then certain things happen, but then you're not showing the authentic you. So that person will help. I even have psychologists on board. Let's be honest. Some people do
Mhm.
need little head shrunking. I do. I
Yeah.
have a therapist. I love her. She's like, I tell her she's my best friend. But
Well, it's
I'm
good. You
glad
got you
for
got to
that.
clear your mind and get
Yeah.
build the foundation, and it starts with yourself. And that's why I feel it's important for when someone goes through, and I've been through a lot of that myself. I was in a long term relationship in high school. my high school sweetheart. When that ended, I was really, distraught for a few years of trying to get that, get back on my feet from that. And I also had a 7-year marriage that
Yeah.
didn't work out. We had a beautiful daughter together. Is my 5-year-old daughter Isabel, and um, so I wouldn't question, like, I'm grateful for it, even though it was tough
Yeah.
the way it ended. But I'm still grateful for all the moments, good, bad, and ugly. It makes me who I am today, and I have a beautiful daughter, and I want to have a respectful, cordial relationship with my ex-wife. So I think it's how you look at it, and that's anything. That could be a big business deal that falls apart, or a big loss, a moment in life, losing a family member. You can choose in the moment to sulk and lay in bed for a month and just feel like you don't want to go out and see another person. I'm not saying to start dating the next day and pretend nothing happened, but
No.
start to work on those foundational things you're talking about in version 2.0. But what you're saying is, and this is what I wanted to shine light on, is
Yeah.
saying don't do it alone. I got these 4 tiers here. We got your back. Let's take a look at your profile. Let's make that thing look awesome. Let's make you look awesome, not in a fake way, but let's bring out the awesome version of you, showcase it, and then let's get you looking at what a good first date would be.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I am here for people. Like, I'm here for people who are dating. It happens to be people dating online, but I'm here. But that's a part of dating nowadays, and people have to understand that dating online is a part of dating. I'm not telling you that you have to meet the one online. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, I know people who use dating online as a part of their training to get back into dating, which I think is fantastic too. You can still meet the person at your friend's picnic. I mean, I'm not saying go to picnics right now, but I mean, like, you
Yeah.
can still do that. But you you can use this as a platform to help you with that, to see what you want, what you don't want,
Mhm.
what are deal breakers. Because what is a breaker 10 years ago is different from what a deal breaker is today.
Right. I just
So
want to
I
make
think,
sure we're mindful in stating that we're still in the tail end of the pandemic here,
yes,
which is
yes,
why she's saying don't go out maybe with a large group of people. Be smart,
yes,
follow your state laws, and your family's safety number one, right? Yourself.
exactly.
I think there's so much gold here. I mean, there's not a lot of digging people need to do. We put it all out there on the table. You know,
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about you. Obviously, I mean, your company's
Mhm.
wonderful. Your insight, what you were able to teach. I want to get into entrepreneurship. I do have one last question, or we can go into some more questions on dating apps and stuff.
Okay.
You gave me a list here. We got Tinder. We talked about Bumble and Bumble Biz, Hinge, The League, Coffee Meets Bagel, and there's other ones too.
Yes.
Facebook, though, I think it's interesting that the biggest social media platform to date, right, the most users,
Mhm.
Facebook, actually they took notice, and obviously, if you see Facebook doing something, it means it's working. So online
Yes.
dating is a thing; it's not going anywhere. They actually have it. What do you feel about their platform? Do you feel that that's a good one to use, and do you see that sticking around from your experience?
I think it will stick around for sure. I don't, I'm not a particular fan of Facebook dating. I don't think they do their algorithm right, if you really want to know the truth.
Sure.
But on the same line, one the same best friend who I hooked up his Hinge, he's on it and he does well on it, and he says he gets a lot of matches.
Mhm.
So I just don't think that certain algorithms they are doing right, to be honest with you, because
Sure.
the people I get, I will say 70%, 80% of them, I would never in a million years. I don't get them on my um Hinge, my Bumble,
Sure.
or my league.
But the
They're,
matches are just not, then it becomes frustrating if 70%
yeah,
of the time you're like, "No, no, get out of here. What is this?" All of a sudden your user experience, which Facebook, that's their number one thing, and Google, they care about user experience.
yeah,
So, all right, well, I'm glad you said that because I think it's good for if someone's starting or maybe they're already using a couple apps and they're looking to try something different. You gave some really great insight there. So again, now on to Dorinda, right?
okay.
You're a newer entrepreneur. You started Next Connection. Basically, your friends were like rattling you, like, "Can you do this to help out? Why aren't you doing this full time?" So tell us about Did you have an interest in starting a business in the past? And, is this your first one?
No, this isn't my first one. I came to LA for acting and I fell into producing. So I do produce.
Mhm.
But now Next Connection's taken over everything and I love it. I fell into Next Connection from helping my guy friends. Actually, they were like, this is a business.
Mhm.
And I'm in love with it because it still gives me that whole, thing of producing because I'm putting something together like a
Mhm.
chef in a
Mhm.
sense and making a great meal if you want to do a comparison.
Sure.
But this is my second round, I guess you could say, in business. Yeah.
Mhm. So producing, I mean, I have an interest in that as well. I went to Buff State College here. I'm from Buffalo. See the Bills
Nice.
Mafia, Buffalo Bills flag behind me.
I'm a
And
Jets fan.
that's all right. Hey, as long as one
I
of
like
the
the
one of
Bills.
our
As
two
long as
teams,
it's not the Patriots, we're
I
good.
was gonna say, as long as either of us is beating up on the Patriots, it's okay. Maybe that we can get two teams together and put out one massive team to beat them. But I'm telling you that because I've taken television, film, and arts and producing, so I understand
Mhm.
the difference between a director and a producer. But for our audience, they may not understand what goes into a producer. They see it pop up on the screen in a TV show or a movie. Can you just walk through what producing actually is? What do you do on a daily basis when you're wearing your producer hat?
A producer does everything. Let's be honest. At the end of the day, they figure like if your hair and makeup person aren't getting along, you have to go in and be, the mediator for that. You help
Mhm.
with picking up the talent, the show, and there's different types of producers too. I think a lot of
Mhm.
people need to know that. There's a line producer, executive producer, consulting producer. It's I'm not going to go down the list,
Sure.
but the executive producer handles the money, but in network television, a lot of times the executive producer oversees everything.
Mhm.
So they, oversee down to the PAs, but they make sure that the show happens. So
Mhm.
I'm comparing it more like to a chef where like an executive chef, they make sure that the whole kitchen runs perfectly. That's
Mhm.
what a producer does. They make sure everything runs perfectly.
And the director's responsible for the on-air look if it's TV and the final visual
Yeah.
components. That's the director. But the producer's really like giving some direction there and obviously has a footprint on what they want to achieve for the film. So when you're a producer, you're working closely with your director, obviously, to achieve that look, right?
Yeah.
You share a little bit about that relationship on like making sure the production is looking the way you want it to.
Yeah. Okay. So, like you said, the director is the one who has the creative voice, I guess we can say. But they have to work together to make sure the shot is right. So, see, they do scene by scene. And if a producer doesn't like a shot that was seen, like the director and the producer actually do have to work together on that too.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times they'll do two cuts of it, one a producer's cut, one of a director's cut,
Mhm.
because the producer has to, they're the ones who are normally talking to the heads, the people
Mhm.
who are in charge of everything. So they're the mouthpiece for the production, where the director is the creative force behind the production.
Yeah.
Both creative, but on different ways
And
to do it.
sometimes the person will do both. I mean, you've
Yeah.
seen it with Spielberg in the past. Now you see a lot of guys who are fantastic directors that I loved growing up. I grew up in the late '80s and '90s. So many great movies, a lot of great sci-fi and things that came out. Spielberg and M. Night and
Yeah.
Zemeckis, and there's just so many great directors. And a lot of times they did also produce. But now I notice a lot of times you'll see. I mean, it's not even now. It's over the last 15 years where Spielberg is very selective, right? Like if there's a project that he just wants to turn into his baby, he'll do it. But for the most part, he's kind of executive director overseeing these, right? So I guess you get to a
Yeah.
certain place, you can kind of be like, I still love what I'm doing, but I'm not on the set maybe every single moment of every single day, right? Or
Yes.
is a producer literally there every day too? Or are they kind of
Some
pull back?
producers are. I mean, some producers sit in the trailer and then they're working on everything. It just depends. I mean, we do have producers. I've seen some producers that are on set every day. Then there's some producers who just, work from their office because they're crunching the numbers, which are normally a line producer. That's what a line producer does. Sure. And I'm just giving like a very
this is 101 style. That's what I was looking for, to kind of let people appreciate or learn about what goes on behind the scenes. Where can we see any of your films? Can you give us a couple of highlights from your producing?
I have one in development called DiCioccio. Okay. Then I haven't done one in a while. This is so bad.
Well, it's because you got NXTConnection. I mean, you're the CEO of the business, so don't apologize for doing something you're passionate about.
Oh yeah, NXTConnection has been my focal point. So I haven't really done any of that. I have things in development. Right. Like we have the Johnny Unitas biopic that we're working on, that we actually got the rights from his son because his son is involved in it.
Awesome. So that's huge.
Yeah, we really would love to have someone pick it up. It's so great and beautiful. And Johnny Unitas was amazing. So yeah,
maybe that goes well. You can do Joe Namath too, Broadway Joe, and then you got your Jets connection.
I love Broadway Joe. Yes.
Talk about character. Oh my gosh, man. The camera. He was waiting for the cameras every day.
He loved the camera. He still loves that camera.
Certainly does. Hey, tell us real quick. We're going to get in a lightning round. But before we do that, what has been your favorite moment? Let's talk about in business. So with NXTConnection, did you have a moment where you're like, man, this is why I do what I do?
Yeah, there's a couple. There are a couple. We do live events. And unfortunately, live events stopped for us on Valentine's Day. We were supposed to have one during the pandemic, and obviously that didn't happen. But we did a paint and sip at this bar, and it was great the way we did it. But that wasn't the moment. The moment was my mom was in town, and it doesn't matter how old we get. We're always looking for approval from our parents. And my mom was in town, and an old client of mine happened to be across the street at some event. And now this was a client we thought was never going to find anybody. Love him. I'm not going to mention his name because I truly, truly love him. But he follows up on everything that I do, but I don't want him to ever, use his name. But anyway, he came in with his girlfriend. And he introduced his girlfriend to my mom and saying it was because of me and the relationship counselor I work with. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is the best moment ever.
Yeah. Like if I can get this guy hooked up with someone, I mean, I can get anybody.
Exactly. So, I was like, I showed my mom, she's like, oh, this does work. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, it does.
One thing I want to point out too is on your site, it mentions that you're not matchmakers. So be careful with that word, because a lot of times people think, oh, I sign up for this, who's going to get me a date every week or whatever you can do. You're not matchmakers. You're helping people be more, have a better appearance or look, or get themselves out into the universe so they can find someone. They have to take action themselves. They can't just sit at home, hire you, and you're going to be like delivering them, ding dong. Oh, here's date number 17. Oh, let's see that. No, that's not what you do. I just want to make sure people understand. But in this case, that gentleman felt like you were a big part in him obviously connecting, which is true.
Yes. And if you do want a matchmaker, I do have a matchmaker on board.
Oh, you have someone on your team?
I do. So if you're looking for more, I have a magnificent matchmaker. I work with a few, but she's my special.
That's awesome. You leave no stone unturned.
No.
All right, you bought some time. Are you ready to rock and roll with lightning round here?
Let's do it.
All right. One new skill or positive takeaway from quarantine?
I learned how to do a virtual event.
I love it. Cool.
Yes.
What is the ultimate accomplishment for you? You can say the one thing.
Oh, the one thing is to have my own successful app, but dating app, but taking it to a whole new level of that, where aspects of what I do and the aspects of the people that I work with almost like it's a network, not even an app, if that makes sense.
I think that's awesome. So you can have the consulting layer of it and a solution, like you can use this and it's going to have the best algorithm and everything else.
Yes.
Love it. This is a multiple layered question, but I mean, you don't have to answer all three parts of it, but favorite books, podcasts, or inspirational content that you listen to on a daily basis or tune into?
So my favorite book that I just reread again was you might have to beep me on it. Yeah. It's by Gary John Bishop.
Okay.
Called Unfuck Yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the name of the book. Yeah. It's a great book. Anything by Nicole Lapin. I think she's fantastic. She has a few books out.
Say her name again.
Nicole Lapin.
Okay.
She is great for entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic with entrepreneurs. Then let me see what else. There's been a bunch of books that I've read. The 4 Agreements, of course. The 4 Agreements.
I've heard of that too. So I mean, we're definitely tuning into some of the same people, same influences. This question here, it's different than the other one. I said, what would be an ultimate accomplishment? And you said building your own app and connecting it to NXTConnection.
Yeah.
This question is, if you personally, if Dorinda can be known for one thing, someone says your name, they think what? What would that be?
Online dating.
Online dating. She's the queen of online dating. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that's kind of the lightning round. The last 2 questions, you can spend a little bit more time, because the second last question I deliver is really my mission statement. Right?
Yeah.
We talked about that off camera. So if you can deliver one message to leave our audience inspired to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams, what would that be?
Oh, that's a good one. I think we've come to a time in our lives where just be you, that you are enough, that you are good enough, and allow the world to see that. I think we don't do that enough as people. We feel that we have to put on some kind of persona, and that's not true. So just be you.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
My last guest, it was either my last or 2 guests ago, had the same exact answer to that. And I post all my own social media content. And one of the things that I came up with, and I mean, it's not super original of an idea, but it was be you, everyone else is taken.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of people, like, they're trying, and I find myself too, like, it's getting the best, the new shirt, the new shades, the whatever, right? The car. Like, you go for things that make you feel good too. Or you're putting yourself out, whether it's on dating apps or regular social media, to be like your best version and things like that. But at the same time, if everyone was doing the same thing or achieving, or everyone was wearing the same Air Jordans, that would be a sin, because everyone would be basically robots walking around. So remember to be you, because everyone else is taken. So there's one Dorinda, there's one Mike DiCioccio, and let's go and be the best version of that. So wonderful insight there. Let's wrap up with this, because my tagline, you've probably seen it in my emails when we were setting up this interview. Be great and be grateful. Right? What are 3 things that you're grateful for, most grateful for?
The first one's gonna probably be a lot that you hear, but I'm grateful for the family I came from. It definitely has made me who I am. Very female oriented, because I'm one of 5 girls.
Wow.
And one of 5 girls.
Where do you fall in chronological order there?
I'm first. I'm the oldest.
Wow, you're the trendsetter. You broke everything through.
I am.
You got the most bumps and bruises from mom and dad.
Yes. So, and I gave them a lot of bumps and bruises, but they seem to be okay with it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So I want to say, I like the way you worded that too, because a lot of people talk about their existing family. I know I'm extremely grateful for my daughter, my parents as well. But it's like a lot of times people talk about it in the moment, and you said my family that I came from, meaning like they set it up, helped set the tone for you, and then you
Yes.
became yourself out of that. So I thought that was interesting how you worded it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. My mom and dad taught us how to be, as we said, independent codependents, which is the best. We're very independent women, but we definitely need each other. And it's actually a really beautiful thing.
That is awesome insight for anybody to tune into. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. Be an individual, right?
Yeah.
Have that independence factor where you can get around by yourself, but also, have that codependency where you're the best sister, the best brother, mother,
Yeah.
father, friend, right?
Yes.
So that's so family is number one.
What am I grateful? I'm grateful for my individuality of who I am. So I'm grateful, so I guess I am grateful for being brave to be an individual. I think that's a good way to say it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So is that something that you feel took some time, or did you always kind of come natural to you to be okay to be out there as your individual?
I think it was a little bit of both, to be honest. I think I've always teetered on that, if that makes sense. Like I teetered one way and then I would be myself, and then that fear would set in, and then you come back and you're like, oh no. And then you go back to, it's gone back and forth. Now, I think now I'm just now I know, not I think, I know I'm in my individuality, because I know that's my authentic me and be me. And when you're not yourself, you get in trouble. You will get in trouble with people in life.
You'll get found out.
You get found out.
The real you eventually. And the more time they spend, the more they understand who you are.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that you said, you didn't use this word, but it reminded me of being vulnerable. And I think that goes back to the dating conversation of you got to be vulnerable to let someone in enough where they can get to see the real you. Because eventually this persona you might be playing for first date, best version of yourself with no mistakes or whatever, that's going to run its course. And then the vulnerability allows someone to really see you. So it's hard to be vulnerable. I think you've been extremely vulnerable in this conversation, being open, and that's why I wanted you on. I felt that in our first conversation. And I think you are a great inspiration for anyone listening, because they can learn from your business. They can learn from, the many hats you wear as a producer, and also just your personality. I think has been perfect. So we got one more bullet point, then we'll wrap up. I'll put a big bow on this.
Okay. So 3. Yeah. I know this is going to be an interesting one. My ability to still want to learn. I am very grateful for that, because I feel a lot of people just want to be where they're at and stuck where they're at, and they don't want to learn. So what we knew 5 years ago and what we were stuck in 5 years ago doesn't mean that you still have to be there. It doesn't have to be concrete. You don't have to have, you can have concrete ideas, but a foundation but you can also always change your way of thinking, and there's nothing wrong with that. And
awesome.
And I'm always learning.
The best app designers, the best producers, the best athletes, the best podcast hosts, the best of the best of the best. Guess what? They're always learning. They're looking to see what they can do better. And I think that's such great insight again, and to reflect on it. And it's interesting that you say that you're grateful for that, because I think a lot of people go and they look to strive for that. But for you to be like, hey, I'm grateful that I have the intellect to be mindful that I'd like to be this way. And I don't want to just be and stuck in my ways where I don't want to learn anymore. Because then you're collecting dust. I said that on a prior episode too, because if you're not learning and growing, you're not exciting yourself, so you're going to get stale. And who wants to be around someone who's stuck and not looking to improve, right?
No, why? There's no reason to be stuck. There's always a better way, as I like to say. And there's always, You can always better yourself.
Mhm.
Just because something happened yesterday
Mhm.
doesn't define who you are tomorrow.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't define your
Even if you
tomorrow.
had the best day ever, you don't wake up and say, okay, I'm not going to do that again. You're looking to learn and do something a little different. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
life. That's the exciting part of life. We don't want to wake up and have that Groundhog Day movie moment where 6 o'clock and the same song plays. Bonus if you can name the song.
From Groundhog Day?
Yeah, that plays on the radio. I
Oh.
can't think of it either. I can hear it in my head, but I don't know the actual name of it.
Oh no! And normally I would look it up, but I can't. Oh
No, it's all good. It's all good.
You know I'm gonna look it up right after this.
We're both going to look it up. This has been so much fun. People tuning in can go now after this interview is wrapped up. They want to connect with you. They're going to do that on Instagram and Twitter at NXTConnection, on Facebook at NXTConnection USA, and your website, NXTconnection.com. This was a lot of fun. Dorinda Barker, thank you so much for being here. Any last comments you'd like to make while we're wrapping up?
Man, I'm going to say right back at you. This was a great interview and I enjoyed myself. I love when I can actually laugh. I love to laugh. That's one of my things. So we did some laughing and we got some knowledge in, and I just honestly want to help people. And I want to see people get matched up on these dating sites, and I want to help with that. Mm. So definitely come my way, and I swear I will make it painless.
Well, I might be putting you to the test. So you have a friend over here, but also you might have a client as well. I just, I think it's interesting. I think it's awesome what you're doing, the value that you're bringing for people. And it is scary, especially someone who could be coming out of a longer term relationship. Like, myself, last time I went on, call it a first date, I was married for a long time and we dated for 3 years prior to a 7-year marriage. That's a 10-year span. I'm not alone in that. Someone might be married for 5 to 7 years, 10 years, and now they're in a new platform that a lot of this stuff didn't exist. So they're going to be hurting a little bit to get into.
Oh, yeah.
So what you're providing is a tremendous value. So thank you again so much for being here today.
You're so welcome. And Mike, can I just add one thing in? And I wanted to say, and I totally forgot what you said about going for coffee on the first date or lunch. That's the way it should be. I don't think you should expect like an expensive dinner at, Ruth Chris or something like that, because really the first date is called a meetup. That's what it is. And you need to know if this is someone you want to be able to share a dinner with. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it should be coffee and lunch or something very simple. And, even if you want to put a time clock on it, an imaginary time clock, you can do that. And then if it keeps going, you can just keep going. But yeah, I agree with you. It shouldn't have to be extravagant in a sense. If you want it to be, that's a different story. Mm-hmm. But if you're just meeting someone for the first time and you're not sure, then the coffee and the lunch is perfect.
Yeah, I think for the people, just personally speaking, that I'm interested in meeting with are someone that they're going to want to have a conversation to get to know each other more. That should be the most important thing, and everything else comes along with it. So, hey, I appreciate you saying that, because I thought maybe I was a little bit of from another planet or something.
No.
My ship landed on this planet in 1986. So yeah, I'm putting a date on myself. Dorinda Barker, you're awesome. I'm happy to call you now my friend, and I'm going to follow your success and use your services as a way to get connected here. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you.
I love you guys, and thank you so much for tuning in. Check out more show notes and information on each episode at mikeduppodcast.com, MIKED uppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.